Your firm's marketing message is crucial. It's the most crucial piece of gaining new leads, gaining new clients. It's even more critical than the work that you actually produce. We'll talk about what goes into your marketing message and several ways to make it stronger. Stay tuned. Giving architects and landscape architects the tools and strategies to be seen, heard, and valued in the marketplace, and telling the stories of leaders building thriving design firms and attracting their ideal clients. This is From Architecture to Profitecture. I'm your host, Jake Krakowski. Let's get started. Future and fellow Profitex, hello. How are you? Welcome to this week's show. We're talking all about your marketing message, not just your portfolio, not just your website and your SEO or the strength and consistency of your social media presence necessarily, but rather the messages that are behind that, messages behind the scenes, and the power that those have in being able to generate interest and leads and clients and publicity, dare I say, notoriety and fame. Messaging is key. It's all encompassing. It goes beyond the pictures. If a picture is 1,000 words, well, these are the 1,000 words that we're talking about here. So I want to dive right in. And the reason I chose this topic for this week was we are potentially starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with the COVID-19 restrictions. I know here in South Carolina, they're starting to ease up for certain retail establishments. Certainly not gatherings of any kind, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel that at some point, summer 2020, I am guessing that we'll be on our way back into the swing of things, and interest in our professional services that we provide is going to pick back up. Don't know about you, my phone it's a little quieter. I will say that. But there's a long game here, and why this time is so valuable, even if we're still working through the backlog in your pipeline of work that you had, even if you had clients lined up well before any shutdowns or quarantines started, and you're doing okay with work, that's great. Many of us are not. Many firms have had to lay off staff or furlough staff, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So taking this time, if you have it, to look at the overall message that your firm is putting out into the world. Again, not just the pretty pictures and not just the process photos and drawings, but the message that you're putting out there. And at the core of it, I want to talk about beliefs. Why am I talking about beliefs when we're trying to talk about architecture here, Jake? I want to talk about what your beliefs are, and then what quote unquote their beliefs are. They being potential clients, existing clients, colleagues, consultants, contractors, all those C alliteration words. But beliefs are at the root of how our messaging can either support our businesses or make it really difficult to get clients in the door. So I want to ask you a series of questions, and I'm going to take your time. If you're watching the video or whether you're listening, you can press pause, scribble some notes down, just get some thoughts out of your head. I think it could be a valuable exercise. So thinking about beliefs, what do you believe that you actually do? How do you believe a project or a project team should operate? What do you believe about how fees should be structured? What do you believe about how fees should be calculated? Think about those, and then instead of you, put the word your client in or my client in. What does my client believe that I actually do? What does my client believe about how my fees are structured or how my fees were calculated? Is there a disconnect there? Most of the time there is, and therein lies the potential bridge between the two, which is your marketing message, the message that you can get out, whether it's on the face of your website, or it's on promotional material, or it's out in face-to-face networking, when that comes back into the fold. What's the message that you're putting out there? How is that bridging the gap between these two potentially opposing sets of beliefs? I know fees is going to be a particularly poignant one here. In looking at what you do, there's a whole list of services that we know that we provide. There's a whole list of expertise that we know that you and I provide. The clients don't always see that, or they don't necessarily see the value in that. They don't see how that translates into the end product, the actual physical environment that we create, but also the transformation in how their business operates and how their family, quote unquote, operates, how they share space, how they move through their day. So I want you to just take a few minutes and just harp on those questions, because it's really looking at your beliefs and how they can meet up with the beliefs of your potential clients. Rather, that is the gold in creating the marketing messages that are going to trigger something in their mind to pick up the phone or to book an appointment or to click on your website or send you an email, whatever it is. I want to give you 3 tips here on how you can work to strengthen your marketing message. The first is to narrow your focus. And I don't necessarily mean niche down, pick a certain type of project you want to work on, although that could certainly play into it. But in narrowing your focus, it needs to be all encompassing. It needs to be how you schedule your appointments. Is it over the phone? Is it via website or web-based calendar, cloud-based calendar? How are you presenting proposals? How are you presenting concept presentations? And then be able to distill that, to distill all those elements down. You want to paint a picture, especially if they're looking at your website for the first time and they're trying to get a sense of who you are and how you can help them. How do you paint a picture? And if you're saying that you can do this and you can do that, and we provide services A through G, and we've done one of those projects and we're really good at it. Well, one of my favorite quotes: if you try to speak to everyone, you end up speaking to no one. So if you're trying to be a generalist of an architecture firm, generalist of a landscape architect, it's going to be hard to make those quick connections where someone will say, they'll either say immediately, yes, that's the guy for me, or they'll want to pick up the phone and want to learn more about you. So being able to narrow your focus in the copyright, in your copywriting, in the messages you put out there, even in the images and the graphics and the colors that you're putting out there, make them tailored to the client and the type of project that you're trying to go for. Second would be mirror their words. And by there, I mean our potential clients. And I don't necessarily mean mirror word for word, although if you're online as much as I am, you're getting ads for Masterclass. And Chris Voss was a former, I believe it was FBI negotiator. The latest ad is on mirroring, where you're repeating the last 1 to 3 words of what someone says and how it can make that connection. Now, that's not necessarily a marketing message tip, but rather maybe a fee negotiation tip. But I thought the idea of mirroring their words, taking the words that are in the client's head, and I mean word for word. Don't assume what you think their problems are. And many of us do this, and especially in those initial client meetings. You really want to get to the heart of what's troubling them. It's not just, I want to expand by 200 square feet. It's, you want to talk about how the family is clashing in a certain place, or I don't have a dedicated desk space or office space. And then the feeling that comes behind that, you want to get into what they're actually saying, and then take those, and a lot of times you can copy and paste onto your website or onto your social media posts. And there's that connection where they feel like you understand them because you're saying their words. So it really takes understanding your audience and where they are, and then what they are actually saying. Now, you can take this so far as to go onto different message boards. I don't know if you've been on the message boards for house.com, or they're kind of a mess, but honestly, there are some gold nuggets hiding in there about the questions that are being asked over and over, the pain points that people are seeing over and over. Are there bits of copy there that you can quote unquote steal? So, the idea there is to, again, repeat the conversation that they're already having. Imagine the conversation that a husband and wife are having. Imagine the conversation that a CEO is having with his facilities staff and what the issues are there, or HR and how they're going to grow with the staffing boom. Try to put those conversations directly into your copy and your marketing message. And the idea there, if I've only said it subtly, is to prioritize psychology over demographics, the internal versus the external. A lot of times when you go through a quote unquote marketing or niche exercise, you're looking at type of project, you're looking at location, you're looking at project value, you're looking at industries that you want to work with, you're looking at styles of homes, types of homeowners. You're looking at the outside. You're looking at the laundry list of things that are easily identifiable, classifiable. But rather, as you dig into your marketing message, I want you to dig in, go on the inside, and really pay attention to what they're saying, and then mirror that in your copy and in your messaging. And then the next one is to be consistent. That goes without saying. If you're not consistent in your messaging, it's going to be hard to generate longevity and interest in the services that you have to provide. Now that goes into certainly your social media posts. That's an easy one to be consistent in, and that does get down into graphics and hashtags and your calls to action at the end of posts. There's consistency in when you show up online. Are you doing a monthly, bi-weekly, weekly newsletter, quarterly review? Are you producing videos for YouTube? Are you doing Facebook Lives just like this? Are you creating a podcast? That's an even better way to force yourself into consistency if that has been an issue for you. The last one is to go outside. No, I don't mean actually go outside. I don't mean physically go outside. I mean, look outside of your firm, look outside of your circle of colleagues, look outside of your locale, look outside of your profession. Look to those that are building thriving businesses and see what they're doing. Graphic designers, interior designers, online marketers, contractors. It could be anyone, but don't base your marketing solely on either just what everyone else in your field is doing, in necessarily what the presenters at your local chapters or your national conferences are doing. A lot of the best tips and tricks and inspiration often does come from outside of our profession. So get outside, and if you're physically going outside, keep your social distance. Be careful out there. And I want to bring it back to COVID-19. It's hard not to talk about it, and it's actually that brings up a point in looking at your messaging, especially as you're making social media posts or email blasts, that you do need to address it. You can't be tone deaf to the situation we have. I think we all know it's not business as usual, and it won't be for a little bit. But look for ways to address the pain points that your potential clients are having, or as you're reaching out to your existing clients, include that in some of your correspondence. It's not all. It shouldn't be at this time. It shouldn't be all business and all just getting through design issues and strategies and all that. But we do need to address what's going on. But at the same time, this time I believe it's a gift. It's a gift for us to slow down. And sometimes that's hard depending on your current living situation, whether you've now crammed a workspace into a living space that didn't have it before, whether you've crammed more family members into a space that didn't have them in full time before. I understand. And I think everyone else understands too. But right now is a gift where hopefully you can take a step back and look at the messages that you have been putting out into the world and out onto the internet, Do they serve you? Do they reflect you and your beliefs? Do they align or start to align or not at all align with your potential clients? Take the time now to take a step back and look at your marketing message, because as we start to come out of this, as we start to move through 2020, I still see this as being a wildly successful year. I believe it will be. I think people are itching. They're itching to go. They're certainly itching to get outside. They're certainly itching to go out to bars and restaurants. But they once the level of comfort, more and more as it comes back into the fold, people are going to be itching to get those projects moving again, especially if they've been on hold, or especially if they've put off calling you at all in the first place, waiting to see what happens. If the clients, let me rephrase that, rather, when the clients who are ready to pull the trigger, as soon as they make that Google search, or as soon as they pick up the phone and call someone for a referral and your name pops up, your message needs to be crystal clear. It needs to speak to them. It doesn't need to speak to the guy down the block or the business in the next city over. It needs to speak to them. So take the time now to go ahead and clarify that. If you want to ask me any questions, talk more about your marketing message, send me a direct message on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram at Jake Krakowski. Go out there and make it a great week, because our success is inevitable. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you stay up to date with future episodes. Connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Jake Krakowski. And for show notes and much more, visit profitecturebydesign.com/podcast.